Welcome to this week's OK at Work with myself, Sarah Sawyer, and my colleague, Russell Berger, both attorneys at Offit Kurman. And today we are talking about contract law, which normally is not always that exciting of a topic, but today we've got an interesting case coming out of Canada involving emojis and contract acceptance. So what's this case about, and why is it so interesting, Russell?
Yeah, so this is interesting. In like the first week of contract class in law school, they teach you about offer and acceptance and consideration. But the offer is I'm going to do this. In exchange, you're going to do this for me. And acceptance is saying, yes, I agree. And what this case in Canada involved is, and correct me if I'm wrong here on the facts, Sarah, but one party to the contract texted a picture of the contract terms and said, texted it to the other party and said, let me know if this is good, essentially. And the response was the thumbs up emoji. And the court in Canada ruled that the thumbs up emoji constituted acceptance of the contract terms, and therefore they had a binding contract.
I mean, it's definitely, and then that's my understanding of it as well. And it's an interesting one because I'm sure that this is happening on a regular basis here in the United States as well, where people are communicating by text on contracts. This one that out of Canada was fairly sizable. It was involving 87 metric tons of flax being sold to a grain buyer. So it wasn't, not an insignificant amount of business dealing there, but I'm sure that this is something that's happening pretty frequently, especially between parties who are, who are dealing with each other frequently and know each other, maybe even might be friends or friendly or those kinds of things. So I think it's some interesting precedent that even though it's not in the United States, that it's something to be looking out for as we move forward. And a thumbs up emoji, I think, is a pretty clear one, which is apparently the court thought so as well. There's a lot of other emojis out there that, who knows what they really mean. They could be subject to interpretation. I mean, laughing emoji, I don't know, lots of different ones.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, couple of different thoughts there. I mean, thumbs up is one of my go-to emojis in text messaging, and I think I use it in a couple different ways. So I have to rethink my use of that every time, especially if someone's asking me something that I could be bound and held to in court. But yeah, I mean, we did an episode on emojis in kind of the context of discrimination and workplace harassment previously. But I think that, that the same kind of thinking applies here, where, it's just something else you have to be careful about. You have to be cautious. Just like, you have to be cautious of the words you choose. You have to be cautious of the emojis you send. And the classic example that, we got in law school is like you're in a restaurant and people write some basic deal terms on the back of a napkin and they sign it or they initial it, and that can be a binding contract. I mean, this is just the 21st century version of that. And it can be informal, yet a formal agreement. So I think, it's probably better for that person to have responded instead of the thumbs up emoji with, I'll review this with my counsel and get back to you, which should probably, if anything's approaching legal significance, that's probably always the appropriate response, just to buy some time and figure things out before you go forward.
Yeah, well, because we also have liking the message. I mean, if it's sent in and I know Outlook even now has that feature where you can like or smile or thumbs up your emails. So, I mean, that's another one. It's just, it's really something to think about, what you're really communicating and how binding that might be and how far along that really gets you in the deal, both from just a practical perspective of business dealing, but then also maybe from a legal perspective. So we'll have to stay tuned and see if anything like this comes through the courts here. Well, thanks, Russell. See you next time.
Thanks, Sarah.